Welcome to my channel. I'm Scott, and in this video we're going to talk about the time value of money. So I'm just going to show you a simple example on the time value of money, a real world example, and then a summary. I like to break things down in a really simple way, so I can either give you $100 a year from now or $100 today. I know it's a silly example because everybody would take the $100 today, but let's do the math to understand it better. If you get the $100 today, then you can invest that money and grow it. But what return can you get a guaranteed investment? If you watch most channels, they use 10%, but there's no guarantee at 10%. Maybe over a 30-year time frame, but even that's still pretty high. Let's just pick 4%. I think if you do enough research, you probably could get a 4% return. If you invested $100 after 1 year, you would have $104 at a 4% return. But the other option is if I gave you the money 1 year from now. $100 1 year from now means you lost the opportunity to use that money to maybe pay off some bills, go to dinner. You can invest it, you can save it for future use. That's why they call it the opportunity cost. If you don't have access to something, you lose the opportunity to use it. What if the example was $100 today or $102 a year from now? You'd probably still take the $100 today. What if it was $104 a year from now? In my example, it shouldn't matter which one you choose, whether you choose $100 today or $104 a year from now, you should end up 1 year at $104. What if I said I'll give you $105 a year from now or $100 today? I still think a lot of people would take $100 today. What if it was $110 a year from now? It'd probably be 50-50. There's really no guaranteed 10% investment. But if I kept going up, say $150 a year from now, then I think most people would wait a year. So really the point is money loses value over time. If you keep money in a savings account, inflation will eat up that money. I'll show you what I mean. A car in 1960 cost $2,600. That was the average price for a car. Today it's $30,000. So in 1960, if you had $2,600, you could have purchased a car. Let's say you kept that in a savings account, and the average rate over the past 60 years is about 1% in a savings account. So in 1961, after 1 year in a savings account, you earned $26 of interest. Then after 2 years, you'd have $26.52, and so on and so on. And then in 2022, after 62 years in the savings account, you would have $4,818. So what does all that mean? Well, in 1960, you could have bought a car for $2,600. In 2022, you cannot even afford the engine in a new car. So you can see how money loses value over time unless you invest it and grow it. The S&P 500 has an average return of 10%, so that $2,600 will be close to $1 million. You could have bought a lot of new cars. Even if you don't get 10%, say you only get 4 or 5%, you still could have bought a new car in 2022 with a lot of money left over. I'll give you another example. Give me $10,000 and I'll give you $20,000. Don't be like Kramer and say I'll take it before I finish explaining what the scenario is. So the situation is, you give me $10,000, I'll give you $20,000 in 30 years. Not many people would take that. It's a pretty bad deal. What if I say in 3 years, and I think a lot of people would take that. It's a really good deal. Even if you invested $10,000 at 3%, which is about inflation, you would have more than double that money in 30 years. And 3% is a pretty low rate. You could probably find a lot of safe investments for 5% over a 30-year time frame. In a 1 or 2 year time frame, there's no guaranteed 5% return, especially in 2022. But over 30 years, you can easily quadruple that $10,000. You'd have over $41,000 at a 5% return. And nobody gets a 30% annual return, not even Warren Buffett. And you could see after 3 years investing $10,000, you would still have below that $20,000. But those were all fictitious examples. You've heard so many of those on different YouTube channels or different places. I'm going to give you a real world example on the time value of money and how you use it. I'll show you an analysis I used with a private company I consulted for. So I was helping the CEO of a plumbing company, let's call them Acme Plumbing, and they're looking to buy another plumbing company, Jim's Plumbing, for $100,000. Just because you're the CEO of the company doesn't mean you make all the decisions. If you own 100% of the company, then you do make all the decisions. But if you have investors, you have to get their approval. If you need toner for the printer, you don't have to get their approval for that. But when you're looking to spend over a certain dollar amount, you do need to get their approval. So in order to present our case to the board, we need to estimate the future cash flows that Jim's company will generate. We also need to apply the discount rate to those cash flows. The rule for this company is you need to recoup your initial investment within 5 years. If that's not the case, don't even present to the board. Whether you're buying an expensive piece of machinery or acquiring another company, you have to recoup your initial investment within 5 years. We're going to present the above chart and the below bullet points to the board in order to get approval. We're going to provide a packet to the board with all the detail. But when we do the presentation, we don't want to get hung up on all the minutiae. We want to just present the high-level facts. You're much more likely to get approval if you do that. If you make your presentation too confusing with a lot of detail, then people get lost and you don't get approval. When we acquire Jim's company, there's going to be a cash outflow of $100,000. That's why it says negative $100,000 at time zero. And after paying all the expenses, Jim had a positive $20,000 of cash flow last year. So we're going to use that as our starting point. When we acquire Jim's company, we're going to absorb all his clients. A lot of Jim's expenses are going to be overlapped with our expenses. So we're not going to have to spend as much money to maintain his company as Jim did, because we're a much larger plumbing company. For example, he pays a bookkeeper. That expense will get absorbed into our main bookkeeper's expense. So our current bookkeeper's salary won't go up that much. So we feel this is a conservative number, $20,000. We think it definitely could be higher, but we feel that's a good base case. Historically, Acme has grown its profits by 10% a year because we have aggressive marketing and a good pricing structure. And that's why we're growing Jim's cash flows 10% a year. He has a similar clientele as ours, so we should be able to grow his cash flows similar to ours. And we use a discount rate of 4%. That's based off of inflation getting higher and other investments we can use that money towards. The $100,000 does not need to be discounted since that money is going out on day one. So in the first year, we expect to generate $20,000 of cash flow. We need to discount that 1 plus 4%, 1.04. So in today's dollars, that's $19,231. And in year 2, we expect to generate $22,000 from Jim's business, and discount rate is 1.04 to the second power. We did our standard 5-year analysis, and we have positive $22,000 of cash flow on a nominal basis. On a present value basis, it's positive $8,000. We did not knock it out of the park the first 5 years. It's almost a break-even investment. But we're confident we're going to continue to grow Jim's company, and it's a great fit for our overall business plan. We ended up getting approval to acquire Jim's company, and we were generating more cash flow than expected, so it ended up being a good investment. So to summarize, the time value of money simply means money is worth more now than in the future. Because 10 years ago, for $30, I could have filled up my tank. Now, for $30, I can't even fill up half my tank. The interesting thing is, Americans are getting really strong, because when I was a kid, it took 2 adults to carry $20 worth of groceries. Today, I saw a 5-year-old do it. So all you need to compute the time value of money is you have to take into account the cash inflows and outflows today, the inflows and outflows in the future, the discount rate, and the time frame for those inflows and outflows. And you have to remember, inflation has a negative impact on the time value of money. Because purchasing power decreases as prices rise, inflation is a tax on savings. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a like, subscribe, comment. Talk to you soon.